paradise, a desire of every heart and soul, an exotic, luxurious, sumptuous, everlasting land and life of bliss.
Which illnesses, if a person loses his life, is classed as a Shaheed?
Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu makes mention of a narration, it is also in Bukhari and Muslim, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Ash-shuhada'u khamsatun, that there are 5. In other ahadith there are few more other illnesses. In some there's 7, some there's 6. So in this narration, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, Ash-shuhada'u khamsatun, there are 5 types of people that get the reward of a shaheed if they were to pass away in those conditions or that sickness. Number 1 is al-mat'un, a plagued person, a person who passes away in a plague, virus, etc. Al-mabtun, any person that passes away from injuries of within the stomach, internal injuries. So that could be cancer, that could be internal bleeding, anything got to do with the abdomen, the belly, the stomach. Wal ghariq, a person who drowns is a shaheed. Wa sahibul hadam, any person that a wall has fallen upon him, or the roof, or has fallen in an earthquake, buildings fall upon a person. These are the people that will be regarded as shaheed. And obviously was shaheedu fi sabilillah, and a person who goes out in the path of Allah and then he loses his life. These are regarded as shaheed, and they get the status of a martyr. The real shaheed, the shaheed al-haqiqi, is the one that goes out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala healthy, and then he loses his life. He gives his life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The others will get the reward of a shaheed. Also, there's another narration, a lengthy narration in Sunan Abu Dawood, where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam visited a Sahabi by the name of Abdullah bin Thabit. جاء يعود Abdullah ibn Thabit فوجده قد غلب, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to visit Abdullah bin Thabit radiallahu anhu, and he found him that he had become unconscious or almost close to passing away. In the explanation of the word ghuliba, muhaddithin have given that either he was unconscious or he had passed away. So Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wasallam called upon him, fasah bi Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam falam yajibhu. He did not receive any answer. Fastarja', then Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wasallam recited, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, قَدْ غَلِبْنَا عَلَيْكَ أَوْ غَلَبَنَا عَلَيْكَ, that it seems that destiny has come over you already. So the women heard this, in the women folk in the house, they heard this. They started crying, wailing, screaming. The narrator of the hadith says, Ibn Atiq, that I tried to console them, to keep them quiet. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked me to leave them, and thereafter one of the daughters of Abdullah bin Thabit asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that how we wish that he joined you in a campaign, in an expedition that you have prepared for, and I wanted that my father would meet the status of shahadat, meaning he would pass away in that campaign, in that expedition, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Inna Allah azza wa jalla qad awqa'a ajrahu ala qadri niyyati, that according to his intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already given him the reward. وَمَا تَعُدْ دُونَ الشَّهَادَةِ, and what do you think? What is shahada? What do you count as shahada? They said, Al-qatlu fi sabilillahi ta'ala, that a person who passes away in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he gives his life in the path of Allah. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ash-shahadatu sab'un. In this hadith, 7 people are counted as those that will gain the ajr and the reward of a shaheed. Number 1 is al-mat'un shaheed, a person who is plagued, a person who loses his life in a plague, in a widespread virus, etc. Wal-gharqu shaheed, a person who is drowned, a person who drowns is a shaheed. Sahibu dhatil jambi, a person who suffers from any illness within the belly, or within, ulama say, is taht al-adla'. So anything under the ribs, for example, the lungs, the infection of the lungs. Also it is mentioned anything that will suffocate one's breathing, etc. And that's what we see today in the current coronavirus situation as well, that it primarily targets the lungs and the breathing system, etc. At the same time, also ulama mentioned that if a person has a fever together with these conditions, these are all part of sahibu dhatil jamb. So he is also a shaheed. Wal mabtunu shaheed, anyone that is suffering from illnesses of the tummy, cancer, internal injuries, internal bleeding, etc. Wa sahibul hariq, a person who has lost his life in the fire outbreak, person who burned to death, also is a shaheed. Walladhi yamutu tahta al-hadam, a person upon whom a wall or a rubble fell in an earthquake, or the building fell upon him, he is also a shaheed. Wal mar'atu tamutu bi jum'in shaheed, woman that dies out of labor pain, she is also a shaheed. So these are all categories, and many of them are very broad. Many sicknesses are encompassed in these categories of shuhada. So in this hadith, Rasulullah ﷺ has made mention of 7, and in the other hadith, the Prophet ﷺ has made mention of 5. Ulama say that this is a later hadith where Nabi Kareem ﷺ has added 2 more categories to the rewards of the shuhada. Also, we need to understand that one is the status of a shaheed, a person who goes out in expedition and becomes a martyr. He gets the status of a shaheed as well as the reward of a shaheed. A person who dies out of these sicknesses and these conditions, they will get the reward of a shaheed. However, they will not receive the status of the shaheed. This is the 2 differences ulama have mentioned. So these are the hadith mentioning the reward of a shaheed, which is also very, very great.